Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range, and I've got Calvin here from America as the first interviewee in this version of Bloke on the Range Central, I believe. And what we did in preparation for this trip was I put out a shout to my patrons and player supporters for questions for Calvin, and he did basically the same on Instagram.
My followers are awesome.
For me, so his followers have provided far more questions than mine did. But yeah, for those who don't know Calvin, if you'd like to introduce yourself briefly.
Hello. So if you don't know who I am, I make silly videos about firearms on the internet, and I get accused of having these things. But this is an airsoft gun. So contrary to popular belief, I don't own any airsoft guns. So actually, Bloke, you have infinitely more airsoft guns than I do. Like literally infinitely more. So, but it's all fun and games. So
yeah, basically, Calvin makes fantastic memes that just get people riled up, particularly boomers.
That's pretty much the short summary.
Yeah, and in fact, the first question from my lot is by Clayton, and it says, seeing as Calvin makes a huge variety of content ranging from discussing historical firearms to modern shooting technique memes, what ties all these interests and content initiatives together? Alternatively, is dumping sriracha directly into foe a crime?
So the first part of the question, well, how do I tie them all together? I think it's because I started out reading about firearms in school, actually. Like back in the day, we had books about guns in public schools. Like,
inconceivable now.
I know, like that would never happen now. So I would read about like World War II firearms, and it was very surface level stuff because when you're like 8 years old, you don't really comprehend a whole lot of stuff. But you go through that, and then you see them in movies, and you play the video games that have all the guns in them. Then you kind of develop an interest, and I was interested in how they worked and how they shoot. So I kind of tend to go towards the how they shoot part of the firearms. So then I got into sports shooting because that was kind of like the best avenue for testing your skills. So I have this kind of weird thing where I'm really into the historical firearms and where they come from, but I also like testing my shooting abilities against other people. So that's kind of how I merged the two together.
Brother from another mother, right here. So
and then the other half of the question is putting sriracha in pho a crime. I think if you are in Vietnam, it may be, but in the States, that's kind of what we do. So. Okay,
so do you want to? We'll alternate until we run out of.
Okay. Let's see. So the first question says, it seems like Bloke likes battle rifles. What does he think of the XM5?
Oh, we get a juicy one. We get Bloke's hot take on the XM5 now. So when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, that's going to be an absolutely awesome DMR. This is like if you could design a DMR from scratch with no holds barred, with caliber left open, it's like, wow, you've done it. Think what they're going to issue it to all infantry. Like everybody is going to get this thing. What are you thinking? It's like, wow. And there's a parallel there. I mean, my view, okay, is that in a few years, it's going to end up like the Scar Heavy in the Rangers. It's going to end up as a DMR, and everyone else is going to be, can I have my M4 back? And people will be, unless like the military makes a political decision that no, thou shalt not have M4s back in any way, everyone's going to be like, hey, Renf types, can we take your M4s and your 5.56? Because it's a complete waste for the average infantryman, and it's like all that technology on it doesn't help when 90% of your soldiers are not actually very good at shooting.
That's very offensive.
Yes.
You're going to anger a lot of
yes. Yeah, the single biggest force multiplier would be like a 10% increase in basic marksmanship. We come across the people online, the whole I learned to shoot in the military starter pack types. I'm like, yeah, no. Come beat us at matches, show us how it's done. But anyway, I think they're making the same mistake that the Brits nearly made with the P13. So the P13 was referred to in the internal paperwork as the new magazine rifle, and it was basically, we're going to fight the Boer War again. So we're going to have ranges, engagements at extended ranges. So we're going to shoot a 7mm at 160 grain 7mm at 2,800 feet per second. And we're going to have the battle sight set at 700 yards. And we're going to have a point blank range of 700 and something. Because we're expecting to be engaging at great range over the veldt. And it's a similar reflex. It's not necessarily the previous thing, but we want to defeat armor and we want to have engagements at extended ranges again. And it's like, we're just going to have this great big heavy thing. We're going to have a longer, heavier rifle with a smaller magazine capacity, and it's going to be a shit hot 7mm. And I find that parallel very, very interesting. But it's like, give it to the 10% of guys who can actually use it and can use the technology. And for everyone else, it's going to be heavier, more expensive, lower capacity misses.
Yeah, and also more complex for that user.
Yeah, all that tech on it. I don't think that for the average infantryman, there's going to be any force multiplier on that whatsoever, aside from if he does manage to hit, it will penetrate body armor better than 5.56 will. But it just turns into heavier, more awkward, more expensive misses. And I'm going to get a load of hate for this, and I know it, but we will see. That's my thing. So, next one up for Calvin. The worst designed but fairly usable military rifle and/or pistol.
Worst designed but fairly usable. Trying to think of what guns I've used that are like halfway decent. Because I don't have as big of a variety of firearms experience as you do. So I'm trying to think of something that's really poorly what was the question again?
So the worst designed but fairly usable military rifle and/or pistol. It's possibly, what's the limit of usability? What's like the bottom end of usability?
Man. Maybe the Mosin Nagant. It's usable. Is there worse than that? I'm trying to think. What's no, I guess you can get pretty bad, but then
Labels.
Yeah, I've never shot one. I own one, but I'm afraid to shoot it. We've talked about this multiple times now. But yeah, see, that's the thing. I haven't shot that many guns. I'm trying to think of like in pistols.
The suggestion here, HKVP70. I think it's so bad it's unusable.
It's usable.
I shot one and I was like, wow.
I actually shot one at a match once.
Oh.
I mean, it went as well as you'd think it would, but you're still able to hit the targets. So the VP70 probably falls in that list. That's like piece of crap, but it's usable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of...
Like that really heavy 18-pound double action trigger.
Yeah.
It's
plastic double action trigger.
That too.
That's miserable.
The only good thing about that gun is the magazine capacity.
Yeah. In terms of semi-rifles, what's kind of the bottom end of usability on that, do you think?
Man. Everything I've used seems to be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of something that's just utter garbage, but there's really, I mean, FNC is probably on my least favorite of the usable rifles.
I've never shot one.
It's just, imagine an FAL trigger on a Sturmgewehr 90, I guess.
Because I've handled them, but I've not shot them. And it was one of those things that on paper, you think, oh, this is great. Brits should have adopted this. You get one in your hands, you're like, this is not great.
Yeah. The only reason why it's popular is because of heat.
Okay.
It's a cool looking gun.
Yeah, but it's clunky and...
Yeah, because if it came down to shootability, like the AR-180 is ahead of it, the K2 is ahead of it.
Yeah.
What else is there? Like, I haven't shot the SAR-80, but I would imagine...
You've handled one now.
I've handled it. It's definitely a more handy rifle.
Yeah. I mean, I've had things surprise the hell out of me. So, shooting Ian's AR-180 a couple of years ago, Desert Brutality, it was like light and handy. It pointed far better than I expected. It handles way better than it looks like it should. It's just not that stock and the way it attaches to the receiver is just too flimsy for military use. You see why they weren't adopted. But the system is fundamentally sound, which is why it ends up being copied by everybody. But I mean, the L85A1 is usable provided you keep it scrupulously clean. And with hindsight now, I'm wondering if they hadn't defaulted to using them on excess gas, that they wouldn't be more reliable. But they were told, don't, unless it's really foul, don't. But anyway, yeah, there's very little out there, semi-auto wise, that is so bad as to be not really SKS.
But that's actually a decent rifle.
Yeah, until you have to reload it.
But
it functions. It
functions.
Runs.
Yeah, it's a reliable rifle, and it shoots okay enough.
Yeah, I mean, to get really below the limit, you'd have to have something that...
This probably wasn't adopted by any large organization.
Just trying to think of something that didn't run reliably at all. And the L85A1 is nowhere near as bad as people, in terms of reliability, that people make it out to be. It is not great in reliability, which is why they did the upgrade on it. But it is not unusably bad. I wouldn't want to take it into a combat zone if I had another option, but it's not below that threshold. I mean, like something SKS like with a horrible stripper clip loading that gave you like a 10% jam rate or something, that would be something that would be, you'd say that is unusable.
That might be at the edge.
Anyway, interesting question. We'll give it some other thoughts.
Let's see what we got next. Okay. So there's two different questions, but I kind of think they're the same thing. Favorite Lee Enfield variant, and then someone else asked SMLE or number 4. Which do you prefer?
Okay. My favorite variant is one of my grow guns. I haven't got one yet. It's an SMLE Mark 5. So that's SMLE configuration, but an aperture rear sight. It was a trials program from about 1924. About 20,000 of them made. Some turned up in Southeast Asia in photos.
Oh,
so
wow.
They escaped at various times. Someone sent me a photo of one on the wall of some shop in the States.
Yeah,
completely misidentified as an Australian SMLE from World War One. But
how available are they in Switzerland?
I've not seen one in Switzerland.
Okay, I've seen one for sale, but it was labeled correctly and priced accordingly.
Yeah, they turn up in the UK, but everyone knows what they are in the UK because the UK is Lee Enfield Central, and they are priced accordingly because people know what they are. I might one day happen across someone who doesn't know what it is here, who got one thinking it was cool, and SMLE, so SMLE Mark 3 versus number 4, it's number 4. But the SMLE Mark 5 kind of splits the difference because the SMLE handles a little bit better. It balances a little bit better. Accuracy-wise, it's behind, but in practical accuracy terms, it doesn't matter. I mean, in service, they held them to 4 mower or better as a general rule. They were supposed to send them for repair if they exceeded 4 mower in service. So there's a myth about them being super inaccurate and what have you. It's like, no, they're not.
I think if you bought one like mine and then you post on the internet about it,
yeah,
the one I purchased had a completely ragged out barrel. Someone fired corrosive ammo through it and probably left it for a few decades like that.
Yeah,
and then now bullets tumble out of it.
And the other thing is in the States, people bubble the crap out of them.
Yep.
And break the things that make them shoot straight and then blame the system for their own nonsense. And yes, it is a bit fussy on the bedding, and yes, they do get problems more readily than a number 4 or a Springfield, which have very similar stocking up systems, aside from the two-piece stock. The number 4 has far better sights. The SMLE bolt action tends to be a bit slicker. They tend to be a bit more worn in. The balance is a bit better. But yeah, we'll split the difference with the SMLE Mark 5. And I think that answers both of them.
Okay, cool.
In one. Timothy asks, did Calvin ask to borrow one of your AKs, Bloke? He did. Well, I'm sure that nothing bad will happen to it. So do you want to give the story behind that TFB vid?
Oh man, this is from forever ago.
Yeah, this is old TFB.
Yeah, so I did a video with TFB for April Fools back in like 2016 or something. And in the video, I took an AKM and completely cut it in pieces, like 3 cuts per ATF style.
Not faked. Legit.
So So yes, I actually cut a real AK up. Now here the caveat is I had 2 different AKs, one that was working and one that was built off a parts kit that was completely bubbled, and it was gonna get cut anyway to be rebuilt. So I switched them out, movie magic, and cut the one that wasn't working, and then we had the good one we left alone. And that freaked out the internet.
Yeah, it did. That was proper trolling.
Yeah, they were both Romanian guns, so people were. I mean, they looked the same on camera.
Yeah. So Calvin's had a look over my 4 AKs, which are all Chinesium. So what do you think of? I mean,
I'm jealous that you can get them for the prices that you got them for, because in the States they're probably like 6 times as expensive.
Yeah.
5 or 6 times.
And they work. So our junk tier entry level gun here is a Chinese AK, and I bought the cheapest, not second hand Chinesium AK I could to make video content on, which I haven't made yet. It's trash, but the receiver, it's still fundamentally, it's commercial quality Norinco receiver. It runs. It's just the bits they put on it are trash.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a decline in the desirability of Chinese AKs in the States. I think as boomers are dying off, because they're the ones who love them the most.
Okay.
For whatever reason, they love the Chinese AKs the most. And then like your Gen Xers kind of, sort of, and then people my age typically kind of write them off and go for more modern stuff. And I do not know why, because the Chinese AKs are pretty good quality.
Yeah, surprisingly so. They're not that accurate, but then they're AKs. I still think the 56.2 is the coolest stock basic AK.
The folding stock with
Yeah.
the little, what do you call that piece? Like little...
Like cheek piece thing.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's strange to me.
Yeah, it's the side folder, which I have.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference between like my Chinese AKs and my Bulgarian AKs as far as accuracy goes. Like they're the same to me.
And
they're like 4 MOA guns.
I mean, all mine shoot better than Buddy's Polish AK, which won't hold a 1 meter target at 300 meters. Whereas my Chinesian ones will 5 MOA guns, probably, with Barnall, but then I'm shooting them at 300. So.
All right. I feel like someone may have asked me the exact same question, but that's later on. I didn't. Yeah, someone did ask me the exact same question. They asked both of us. Okay. But anyway, what's the least favorite gun you own? Ooh. I know my answer, but this is for you.
God, I see. I'm unprepared for this. This is spontaneous. What is something that I hate that I own?
Yeah, mine's a High Point C9 I bought for $60.
I got given some horrible rusted up South American Mausers, but I don't really hate them.
The least favorite?
Or least favorite. Oh, so if I had to give...
Maybe which one would you get rid of first if you had to?
Oh, the things I've got multiples of, probably. I've got so many
so that didn't count. So
let's pretend I don't have multiples.
Yeah.
If I had to get rid of something, probably Nagant revolver.
Okay. That fits
I like the historical aspect of them. I like the mechanics, but as actual guns to shoot with, they're awful. They're quite accurate, but they're awful, and it shoots way high, and they're just miserable things.
Worse than the Swiss revolvers.
82-29. So the 82 I like.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one too.
The 82-29 is hot trash as well. So yeah, it's either the Nagant revolver or the Swiss 82-29. There we go. We finally got there. So Guido asks, as he's competing a lot, maybe for a single rifle made in some numbers for all purposes under the sun, range gun preferable, multiple kinds of competition, hunting, defensive, take a pick.
That's so easy. It's the most boring answer ever. It's an AR-15. If you want to use like one gun for everything under the sun, you can't beat that because of all the parts availability and all the different stuff you can buy for specific purposes. If you want to have an AK that's like raced out, you're gonna have a gunsmith work on it, and the parts are hard to find. You gotta have them creatively remade because you can't get them from Russia technically anymore. It's just a pain. Yeah, like AR is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of mine, if I could only own one centerfire semi-auto rifle, it would be my What Was Stoner Do.
Yeah, I would pick some kind of generic, like duty grade AR-15, BCM, Sons of Liberty Gunworks, one of those.
Yeah.
Colt.
Okay. So,
Let's see what we got next. Okay. How do you feel about the back in my day we didn't need mentality? Is more tech better or old is best? I think they're calling us old. I think they're calling us old. Or maybe just you.
in my day, Sonny. Possibly just me. Right. Is more tech better? If the tech is giving you a value add, it is better. If you're using it as a cope, it's pointless. I like being fairly bare bones. I don't like hanging a lot of crap off my rifles. I think most people should spend the money they're spending on tech on ammo and range time and do some practice. And I like showing off what could be done with very basic rifles. Iron sights, like shooting, well, Desert Brutality a number of years back, I shot with a stock SP1. I shot my first ever Brutality in Finland with a really rattly old stock Australian L1A1. And I think you should be able to do the basics, and technology is not a crutch for skills. If that is a vaguely sensible answer.
That makes sense. And that's, I think, where you get into like the more experienced shooters, you're going to have a very similar answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if you want to hang lasers and, well, visible light lasers are pointless. And if you want to get into nods, then it makes sense. But it's like a basic optic.
Yep.
Like, I'm quite a fan of Holosun 503 with a 3-power magnifier. So I've got 2 magnifications, or an LPVO, like 1:6 or something.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going back to the XM5, you can have like the most baller computer scope thingy in the world, but if you can't do this right,
yeah, we really want to see those fingers.
The number of aids on there kind of negates that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the rifle's pointing in the right direction before the shooter goes rank, because by the time the shooter's finished going rank and the bullet's left, it's not pointing there anymore. So it doesn't. That does not help you. Les says, "Hi, Calvin."
Oh, hi, Les.
That Les, the Les.
Oh, nice.
So we'll move on. Chairman says, Henry from Ninehole mentioned Calvin blew up his PSL. What happened?
Oh, okay. So I bought a PSL. It was used, and it was one of those TGI Knox imports. And from what I can tell, it wasn't a rebuild. It was actually a Cougar. Is it pronounced Cougar?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're the one that means Turkey.
No, it's Romanian.
It's Romania. Oh. I don't know.
PSL, the giant AK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a TGI Knox import. I loaded around. It was some like Russian surplus stuff, which I fired tons of out of that same batch. And I first round pulled trigger and boom. And the thing that saved me from like all the top cover going in my face was the scope.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I still have the top cover. It's like completely mangled up. So I've shot PSLs before, and all the ones I've shot were garbage, but this one was extra garbage.
I bought a bunch of Romtech 8mm Mauser Romanian that is dangerous. I mean, I had one round where the primer went but the main charge didn't, and it rammed the bullet into the lead. And I'm like, I got a misfire. Wait a bit, open the bolt, and there's powder all over the place. I've had that with revolver hand loads before when the pressures were very, very low. Never seen it in a rifle where I was like, oh, okay, I've wasted money on this. And I bought it so long ago, I couldn't take it back to the seller. But yeah, quality control.
Buy a PSL. Okay. What we got for you here? Okay. What's it like being a bloke off the range?
What's it like being a bloke off the range? I'm off the range most of the time. I have a day job, and people are amazed that I managed to do the channel okay chappy participates in doing the channel, that I managed to do the channel alongside me being off the range. But I drive a desk. It is quite a mentally challenging job that I do, and I'm not saying exactly what it is because that makes me doxable. And what's it like? It's It's stressful. But yeah, but one day maybe the channel will grow enough that I could dial back the day job by a day a week. But today is not that day. But that would be ideal. But yes, when I'm off the range, I'm usually working or chilling out and not doing all the things I said I'd do, like going for a run. So what's being a Calvin like when you're not memeing it up on Insta Spam?
I also have work a day job. Contrary to popular belief, I don't make millions of dollars on YouTube. It's a significantly smaller number. I can't even pay my bills. I can't even pay like one bill with my YouTube money. So I have a day job, and my life off the range is like kind of just doing normal human being stuff, like hanging out with the family stuff and eating food and buying. Well, I guess buying guns is part of like. I don't know. Like buying guns isn't really part of my channel. Like I don't really show off like kind of the way you do, where you actually talk about them in great depth. So I guess I have this like the addiction where I collect many guns. So I would do that even if it weren't for the YouTube channel. Yeah, and then same with the whole shooting thing. Like I actually do more training and stuff that I show on the internet because my actual training is very boring. It is very repetitive and not very interesting to watch. So I guess off the range, I am actually doing a lot of gun stuff.
I don't do anywhere near as much gun stuff for me as I would like to do because it tends to be very channel focused. Got to keep making content. Yeah, maybe one day life will calm down. But yeah, right. Next one is a question. We actually discussed this in the car. Can you tell to Yari to have manual division in next year's Finnish Brutality?
We can tell him. I mean, I don't know what that would accomplish because you would have like 3 people competing in it.
Now, our view is that no, you should absolutely be a god and shame some of the semi-auto shooters by shooting manual action against the semi-auto shooters. And what Giga did with Lynx Brutality this year was quite cool because you had these category tags. So you've got everybody in the prize list, and then you've got multiple tags per shooter. So if you were shooting a historic 10-shot bolt action in costume, you'd have had standard. So you'd been tagged with iron sights. Mad Lad was anyone running a bolt action. Cucked EU 10-round mags and LOB. And it was cool. So you could then see who won each category.
Yeah, we talked about this at Finnish Brutality. Was it last year or this year? And it would be really cool if everyone in the media squad actually did that. Whether we competed with the same crappy rifle, like a Mosin Nagant, or if we all had different manual firearms, because I think that would make for interesting content.
That would.
Like no one would win. I don't think.
But it's fun shooting manual action because a lot of people underestimate what you can do with the bolt action.
Or overestimate it.
Or overestimate it, yeah. But the skill level required to perform at that level is so much higher. But then I came like 10th in Lynx with my own rifle, and then on day 1, and then Giga's CZ600 trail on day 2. I'm getting one. It might be here next week as of the day of filming. So by the time you see this, I probably have it. And I'm going to set that up for me. And there's so many things I want to take to matches to use. But with my off-the-range life, I'm probably only able to do Lynx and Finnish Brutality next year. We'll see if I can get up to an SRA match, but the SRA matches are higher round count and faster, so they're not really set up for manual action. But I want to run a stock number 4 in a match.
An SRA match?
Not in an SRA match,
okay.
in a Brutality.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, that sounds painful.
In an SRA match, it would be painful.
Yeah.
Lots of standing reloads because of more than 10 rounds from certain positions. But I really want to run one in a proper match. And then there's other things I want to do. I want to run the SLR again. I'm getting my old AR-10 back. I'd quite like to run that in a match. And I've got so many things, but it's like we're going to have to take it step by step.
Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite. I have a bunch of guns, but I shoot the same ones constantly. I just train with my specific competition guns, and then everything else I just happen to own and don't really practice with and shoot very occasionally.
But yeah, we would encourage anyone who wants to shoot a bolt action to come and compete against the semi-autos. And guys do that in Finland. You get the odd guy LARPing as Finnish World War II.
Okay.
With a Finnish Mosin. That's really cool, and it should be highly encouraged. Up with this sort of thing. And that's the end of the questions from my crowd.
Oh, okay. I've got a bunch here. Okay. I'm not sure if this is correct, but someone asked, is your Indonesian 5.56 SM also inaccurate?
I haven't shot any yet.
Okay.
So I don't know, I'm afraid.
Is that ammunition or is that a rifle?
Yeah, it's ammunition.
Okay.
So there's a big German company that imports surplus ammo and demills it for the German market. Here, no one cares. As long as it's not got a steel core, no one cares. But for the German market, so what they do is they just roughly sort of skim off on an automated lathe. They skim off the marking incompletely, and then so this is M193. 5.56, and then it gets inkjet printed on each cartridge with the name of the importer and 223 rem, and gets reboxed as 223 rem, which will get all the American FUDs going, oh my god, it's not 223, it's unsafe, it's 5.56. It's like, it's 223 rem. It all fulfills the CIP definition of 223 rem. So even M855 or equivalent NATO ball, SS109. We can't have that because of the steel core in Switzerland, but in Germany, it just gets rebadged as 223.
That's interesting. They can have steel core, but you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that, but anyway, we can't. There's a bit of Hollywood BS in the Swiss law, and Germany's a CIP country, so all the ammo has to pass a civilian CIP approval.
Okay, next question is, when is the Frankenfield coming back on the channel?
It will. I still haven't fixed the butt, but what I want to do is something on Enfield butts, and because I've got some very old Enfields and some number 4s, and I've got Franken rifle. We're going to talk about butts, and I'm going to try and fix it and see if I can fix it. What?
Okay. This is someone we know. Jackson asks, let me stash back when.
Let me stash back when. At the next opportunity for
that was a cool stash. We were all very disappointed when you shaved it off.
Yeah, my kids weren't though. Oh. They're like, that doesn't look like Dad.
Yeah. Well, they're going to get used to that. Let's see. Oh, here's a cool one. What bit of advice has helped your competition shooting the most? And then also, what is your worst habit?
Oh, I like this. This is a good question. Yeah. Right. The best bit of advice that helped my competition shoot, of any kind of competition shooting, was to ignore this FUD thing about having to pull the trigger with that part of your finger. It was pull the trigger with whatever part of the finger allows you to pull it straight back. I was wasting a lot of energy, ammunition, and my own goodwill towards myself. I was actually shooting my 38 Smith & Wesson Smith military and police. And we're shooting it single action, single-handed, and I was doing that. It's single action, you must press it with that. And the length of pull between the back strap and the trigger is so short that I was having to contort my finger to do it, which was causing me, every time I pressed it, I just couldn't press it straight down. So I'd ended up losing shots low left. And then I suddenly remembered someone saying, just put whatever part of the finger on, and then I changed it to there. And suddenly I was not wanging shots low left anymore.
But that's improper according to NRA instructors.
Yes, I know. And it's like, yes, in the ideal case, if the pistol fits your hand perfectly, that is the ideal. But almost no pistol fits your hand perfectly.
And if it fits someone else's hand perfectly, it probably doesn't fit your hand perfectly.
Exactly. Which is cool. We've got adjustable back straps and exchangeable back straps on things, being common these days.
Yeah.
And my sport pistol has an adjustable length of pull, but it's got a broad trigger, and I actually have the right edge of it just on the fold, because that's totally reproducible. There's no question. It's a very easy index for me, so I'm pressing that with like that part. And my worst habit, I do actually have a flinch. It's just controllable and controlled. Sometimes when I'm precision shooting with pistol, I let it get hold of me. I can wang shots quite substantially, but you don't have to not have a flinch. It just has to be controlled and delayed until the bullet's gone. So I do anticipate the shot a bit. I would like not to, but this whole "you should be surprised by every shot" thing, that's FUD.
Very FUD, Lord.
Very FUD BS.
Sorry, Colonel Cooper.
If you're being surprised every shot, you do not have the firearm under your full control. You should know when it's going to go off. Other bad habits I have.
I have plenty.
Yeah. Oh, go on. I'll think of mine.
Probably one of my worst habits is I tend to look at my next target before I finish engaging the one I'm shooting at. And that comes from wanting to see the next target faster or sooner, so I can start shooting sooner. But then you kind of get ahead of yourself.
I do the same thing in dynamic shooting. Yep. And I spotted it when I was shooting my mini rifle, where there's no recoil. What I was doing sometimes, looking through the scope, shooting, and then I've actually moved my eye onto the next target, and then bring the scope.
Yep.
Like looking around the scope. If it's
right. And oftentimes for me, I'm moving my gun at the same time.
Yeah.
So your first shot's on, and then your second shot is off. It's dragged.
Yeah.
That sometimes you're in the C or D, or sometimes you just completely miss.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes my trigger control goes to pot in dynamic shooting, particularly a longer shot, and it's this sort of all these mid-range shots which you underestimate, like sort of 15 meters. Mm-hmm. You think, oh, I don't have to really concentrate. Whereas at 25, I'd be like, I need to do a proper FUD trigger pull. You don't, because you're better than me, but I do. But it's like 15. I can miss the target at 15 because I underestimate it, and I treat it as if it's at 10, and I whack it too hard. But the moving the eye thing was a bit of good advice from one of the Ben Steger books. Mm-hmm. It was move your eye, and then the gun will follow. The problem is you've got to follow through on the previous target. Move your eye, gun follows. The problem is it's so easy to get ahead of yourself, and as you're releasing that shot, you're bringing the eyes across and the gun's following.
Yeah, there's definitely a timing aspect to this you have to get right.
It's basically, it's so easy to neglect your follow through, and dynamic shooting you do follow through, but it's much shorter than in static shooting. Because what we were doing yesterday, we were shooting dueling at 25 meters with a sport pistol, and I was getting Calvin to come back onto the aim until the target's turned away.
Yeah, that was completely different than what I'm used to.
Yeah, but it has a huge positive impact on that type of shooting.
Right.
But for you, that's a like glacial follow through. But in that type of shooting, you've got 3 seconds to bring the pistol up, release the shot, and then the target's turn away.
Yep.
But with the cadence of sort of up 1,000, 2,000, bang 1,000, and sort of bang 1,000, and you come back on and you wait for it to turn before bringing it back down.
Yeah, how wide is the 10 ring on that target?
10 centimeters, about 4 inches.
4 inches. Yeah, so we have in USPSA at like 25 yards, A zone is 6 inches wide, so 50% wider. And then you don't always have to shoot all A's. If you shoot fast enough, you could make up for it. If you could do the math, but you generally want all A's. But it's better to go quite a bit faster and make mostly A's.
Yep.
But in that, you want those 10s.
You want to shoot 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of differences in priority. So for me, when I transition, it is bam, I'm next target. Bam, next target.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you show me how to properly play airsoft?
More question for you. I don't play airsoft.
I don't play airsoft either. Everyone thinks I just do airsoft stuff.
This was actually given to my son, but he's under 18, so can't legally own it. So it's mine.
Like, I literally own 0 airsoft guns. I know people are joking, but
We have to have paperwork for these.
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's not registered, but we have to have paperwork. You have to, because it's realistic. You have to. There has to be a paper trail that's kept for 10 years. You have to exchange contracts with the seller.
These are toys.
Yeah, but it's realistic.
It's a child play thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I know in different countries, I think in China, they have very, very strict rules on what firearms are considered. And a lot of airsoft guns actually qualify as firearms in China because of the velocity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can shoot.
Here, it falls under the weapon law. There's the firearms fall under the weapon law, as do certain knives and other stuff. But
I don't know if I could live in a country that considers this a weapon.
Realistic. Well, it's a realistic imitation, basically. So
Yeah, I guess if you pointed at this me in the middle of the night, I would probably not think it's an airsoft gun.
no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see. Do you do any jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai? Do you do any martial arts?
A question for you. I do. I know. No.
0?
No.
Ever
0.
in your life?
No.
Oh,
Never.
okay.
Never.
Yeah, I did judo a very long time ago, but I wasn't very good at it. Let's see. And someone asked, I think you already answered this, but what do you think of the AR-180?
Actually, I think from a user's perspective, it was absolutely great. I can see why no military adopted it, because too flimsy, but it really blew my mind. It way exceeded my expectations. It shoots flat, it's light, it points well, it's accurate enough, and yeah, I fell in love with it. I want one.
What's the availability here?
Not good.
Oh.
Occasionally they turn up, but I've missed them on several occasions, or I wasn't in a position to buy one.
Is the price difference big enough to where it's like a viable thing to get them from the States?
If I really wanted one.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
They're really expensive. You can buy like a SCAR, 16 almost,
That's probably not worth it then.
for what an AR-180 costs nowadays.
Yeah.
For like a primo, like a really good condition one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, because they turn up so rarely, I mean, one went in auction for a ridiculous price, like 3,200 plus commission and tax.
Okay, so you'd be breaking even before importing fees and shipping and.
Yeah, but then that adds a load. I just like one will turn up at a time when I'm in a position to buy one for a reasonable price.
I bought mine for what you can get a cheap AR-15 for.
Oh, you lucky sod.
The guy didn't know what he had.
I know what I got, son.
I hope he's not watching, because he's going to feel really bad. That's pretty much of all I have of the reasonable questions.
Okay, we got some silly ones.
One is he faking the accent?
I don't have an accent. There's nothing to fake. I don't have an accent. This is. I speak English as she is spoke.
Okay, look, I still think you have an accent, because I don't have an accent. People tell me I don't have an accent.
You have an accent.
They're like, wow, you don't have an accent. I'm like, thanks.
You have an accent.
I don't think I have an accent.
You have an American accent.
No, I just don't have an accent. You have the British accent. Okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay, and then this one is from a German. Oh, let's see. How is it traveling to Europe with Category A firearms? It's quite hard, I think, especially traveling in Germany.
Oh, Germany. Right. With the European Firearms Pass, it depends on the country that you're going to. So if you're traveling to Germany, you can only take stuff that's legal in Germany. Traveling to Slovenia, simples, because it's not a problem. Finland, simples, not a problem. We can take down conversions as well, because, I mean, in Finland, they're not allowing people to get new permits for down conversions, but they're not illegal. So we can take them in. Big mag's not a problem.
Can you take down conversions to the U.S.?
No, we can't take an NFA item into the US for competition. So no SBLs.
How would anyone even know?
Do you want to play that game?
I mean, some people have.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. I mean, you also hear of people going to the UK with shotguns that are under 24 inches to matches.
Anything happened to them?
No, but if you were to be caught, and it puts the competition organizer in an awkward position.
Okay, so not the best idea.
Not the best idea, because a semi-auto or a pump shotgun is illegal if it's got a barrel under 24 inches in the UK.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But you also have pistols that have these silly wires stocks. Is that what they are? Or they just increase the length?
They just increase the length.
Oh.
They're not pretending to be stocks. They're just achieving a 60 centimeter overall length.
Can't tell that's worse or better than a brace.
Yeah, but back at the plot, where you can use the European Firearms Pass and the firearm is not absolutely prohibited at the other end, it's fine. It's just throwing money at the airlines, but Cat A, Cat B don't make any difference unless you're worrying about Germany.
All right, well, that's pretty much all I've got.
Okay, so that was good. Thank you so much for coming.
Sure, thanks for having me.
So you're going to be off at the SIG Foundation tomorrow while I'm at work.
Yep, and 6 hour.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Complain about your 553.
We'll talk about that later.
So, if you like this kind of thing, please consider liking, subscribing. Go over to Firepower United and like and subscribe there. Throw him some monies on Patreon so that you can
Yes. Each view is 1/1,000,000th of a cent.
Yeah.
So it helps.
Yeah. Watch 1,000,000 times. So see you all again sometime. Bye.
Bye.